little bit about myself. I'm get into it. I've been working with Wounded Warrior Project ever since probably about 2016. I've been working as a volunteer with them, and I've helped them with several different projects and programs, mostly with physical fitness and rehabilitation. But I used to be a teacher, and I have no problem with sharing my story in front of people. And so, to start everything off, I want you guys to take a second. And I want you to think back to the time when you realized that you were an American. That you didn't just realize it in your head, but you realized it in your soul. That this is my country. For me, I can remember it as clear as day. 1980. My father and I are watching a game on a 12-inch black and white TV. I'm sure some of you guys' workplaces have iPads that are even bigger than what our TV screen looked like. And we are watching this ragtag group of kids beat the best hockey team in the world. They even made a movie about it with Kurt Russell. And my mom's yelling down, "What's going on?" And my dad and I are losing our minds, screaming and hollering at the TV. And we're going, "We're beating the Russians! We're beating the Russians!" And for me, that was the first time I recognized that this is a we. For some of y'all, it might be when you saw Sugar Ray Leonard bobbing and weaving. Pop, pop, pop. He had the quickest hands. Used to love watching him fight. But he had to fight the Cuban, who was supposed to be the best in the world. And he just bobbed and weaved and bobbed and weaved and danced and won the gold medal. For some of y'all, a little bit younger, it might have been when you saw Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and the Dream Team just destroy everybody in basketball. I apologize. We are in Texas, so I'm using a lot of sports metaphors. If I'm not catching you, I apologize. But those are all the times when you realize, hey, this is my country. I'm an American. I grew up in a very patriotic home. Duty, honor, country meant a lot of things. My father was a very, very proud John F. Kennedy Democrat. Whenever I'd walk into his office, there was a sign on the back of it, right behind where his head was and on his desk. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. I have grown up in a family which tells generation upon generation. My ancestors first came here right before the Civil War from the old country in Norway and Denmark. As soon as my great-great-great-great-grandfathers walked off the ship, within a day they were drafted into the Union Army. And ever since then, a Hanson has fought and has shed blood in every single war that this country has ever had. We're talking about Spanish-American War. We're talking about World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korea, Desert Storm, Iraq War. In fact, I have a niece right now who is deployed into Kuwait. And that's been part of our family legacy. My story goes, it's pretty simple. Graduated from high school. I was a wrestler in high school. I was not the 115-pounder. I was obviously the heavyweight. Took state in Illinois, and I walked in, graduated the next day. Is there anybody here who is a Marine? I'm walking in the next day on those yellow footprints. And I got a totally different education that day. I served in the Marine Corps. I did embassy duty in Norway and Denmark. I did as an instructor at Camp Pendleton. Fought in Desert Storm. I fought in Somalia. And after that, I went into an instructor position and was able to work on my degree, get my degree in history and communications, and went into the reserves. And I was like, all right, I've served. President Clinton, most of you guys know who that, President Clinton was the president. He, in 1996, had this degree. He's like, we want to cut back on the military. We're going to give you an open door to leave. I was like, I served overseas. I got shot at. I'm good. I did my duty for country. I followed my family legacy. And then 9/11 happened. And the next week, I found myself in the Marine Corps recruiter's office. And the Marine Corps recruiter took one look at my 34-year-old big-bodied self and said, big guy, love the fact that you want to come back. However, we are looking for 17, 18, 19-year-old young bodies and young bucks. We are not looking for retreads with your age. Here's a Marine Corps sticker. Thank you so much for your service. Out the door you go. And as I'm walking out the door, the National Guard recruiter goes, hey, Big Sarge, why don't you come and join the dark side? So I did a tour in time with the National Guard. If you guys remember, they had airport duty. Right after 9/11, I got the chance to do that. For the record, unless you had 3 stripes and were a sergeant above, none of those other guys had bullets. They were walking around with empty guns. But it calmed everybody down. I did 2 tours in Iraq. I did a tour in Egypt. And in my last tour, I was involved in a couple of explosions. Ended up breaking my neck, fracturing my spine, have muscles in my back. I got torn, ended up bouncing my brain across the top of my head a couple of times. And that was that. I came home and was introduced to some wonderful things called pain pills. And became to really, really, really like them way too much. Any of you have ever been really badly injured? You understand that. That's kind of where my story goes. I had a situation where I realized I need to stop what I was doing and go back to being a father. Go back to being a husband, go back to being a friend. So I looked up Google. And every single veteran organization that helped people, I gave a phone call. Called them. Voicemail. And then you waited. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you have finally reached that spot where you're reaching out for help and no one's there and no one's answering. I've been there. 17 minutes later, though, Wounded Warrior Project called me. I was able to get on with my life. I could tell you, I wish I could say that everything was tea and crumpets. But you all know that life goes up, down, side to side. But it's been a really good that for me, my friends that I made in Wounded Warrior Project have been with me throughout my journey. I mentioned that my family has all served. I'm going to tell you a little bit about one of them. But before I do, I want you to understand a couple of things. When I say that this country is worth it, this country is worth it. Everybody who you know that is a veteran have signed a blank check that said, okay, my life to make sure that everybody that I have in my circle, all of their friends, have freedom. Now, there's a group of people that are out there nowadays who keep saying, you see them on social media, you keep seeing them on the news, you even hear some politicians, they say, because America hasn't been perfect in everything that they have done in the past 250 years, it's not worth it. We need to destroy the whole thing. I say it's totally the opposite, because obviously they haven't read the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. A more perfect union. When you hear that, you have to understand what that is saying. That is saying, we're going to mess up. We made mistakes. That's one of the good things about this country is we do the best that we can, step by step, little by little, to fix those mistakes. There have been mistakes made to nearly everybody from the time the Pilgrims came to now. But we have tried to fix those mistakes. And we are worth it. So my great uncle, this guy by the name of Kenneth Hansen. Now my family, once they got through with the Civil War, they all settled around Chicago. And they all got involved in the railroads. My great uncle, he was a big old Viking. Worked in the railroads. So when I see a company like Southwire, I feel at home. Hardworking, blue collar, roll up your sleeves, let's get the job done. And my uncle, after Pearl Harbor, decided he was going to join in. He joined the Navy. He was a gunner's mate. Is anybody here Navy? So a gunner's mate is the person who handles the weapons, the big guns on a ship. They're the ones who handle the ammunition. And he joined up, and he was the first person from our family who traveled to Texas. He was the first person who went to California. He was the first person who went to Hawaii. So he wrote a whole bunch of letters back. When my grandmother passed away a few years back, a bunch of us got an opportunity to look through her picture books and read some of the letters that she had saved. You know, you have your phone, now you got your whole history of photos. Back in the day, you had to look at grandma's photo book. And you're like, who's this? Who's that? And I saw a picture of him, big old Viking. I wonder where I got the jeans from. I think it was right there. And got a chance to read some of the letters that he had written back. He had talked about how big the ships were that he was working on. I remember he worked in the rail yards. So he's talking about these ships were 12, 13, 14 trains up. And he says it's even bigger than that. He talked about how it was on the beaches in Hawaii. He talked about how he had a roommate or a bunkmate who was from Oklahoma and couldn't understand a word he said. I hear some people in Texas say the same thing about Oklahoma nowadays. And he had this really cute nurse that was riding him. He can't wait for his next lead. He's going to go hang out with her. He was on the USS, don't you love it, when it's right on the tip of your tongue and it slips out of the way? Well, what he was, his ship was hit by a kamikaze. Bunker Hill. USS Bunker Hill, sorry. And his ship was hit by kamikazes. And he ended up dying because they hit the battery where all the ammunition and everything was stored. In the letters that his officers wrote to my family, it said that he perished saving the lives of other sailors. You know, that whole proverb where lay down your life for your friends comes to meaning. When I talk about this country is worth it, and the veterans and the people who are involved in this, what they did is his sacrifice in World War II allowed my father's generation to come through. My uncle who served in Vietnam, when he didn't pass away, but he was hit. His sacrifice allowed me the opportunity to live in freedom. My sacrifice allows my kids the opportunity for freedom. You hand it down the line. And my niece is giving her generation that same opportunity. If you guys know someone who's a veteran, make sure you say thank you. But here's the thing. It's worth it. Because you, as Americans, are worth it. America's known for being, whenever there's trouble, we're the first ones to step up. We come together when there's a problem. Right now, too many people are trying to divide us. And that's just wrong. As a country, this is what we strive for. This is what people like myself sacrifice for, so that we do good things. My story ends up very simply. You know, I went and I found help. I learned how to rehabilitate. My job right now is I rehabilitate people who are injured and who are broken. I spent 7 years working primarily with injured and wounded veterans, and now I work with the public. 3/4 of my clientele are people who have like knee replacements, hip replacements, messed up backs, messed up necks, things along that line. I've had people who've had strokes, retaught them how to walk. That's my job. I feel like I get a chance to continue serving and helping people live a greater life. God has a great sense of humor. I have 6 daughters. I am 58 years old, and 4 years ago he said, you know what? You don't have enough drama in the house with 4 daughters. I'm going to give you a boy. So I have a 4-year-old baby boy. It's hard to say he's baby right now. He's bouncing all over every single playground and bike that he can get on. In fact, I have a granddaughter who is 3 years older than my son. So that's always fun. But I get the opportunity to help people. This past year, what I try to do is, when I do with my work with Wounded Warriors, is I try to help give them visions, give them inspiration of things that they can do. In March, I competed in the Arnold Strongman competition. 750 pounds for reps, deadlift, got 4 in 60 seconds. 225-pound log press for reps. Got 7 in 60 seconds. We end up hitting 8th overall. And then this year I also got a chance to do the Army 10 miler. And don't ask me my time because we judge people my size by the sundial, not necessarily by a digital clock. And then last week I got called in at the last minute to go on a Wounded Warrior Project team to do the High Rocks in Dallas. And that was interesting to say the least. Sled push, sled pulls, and nothing like a couple of kilometer runs. However, the idea is that even at my age, even at my size, even with some of the injuries that I have, get an opportunity to live life to your best. You guys working in a job site where you guys are with all the, look at all the different things that you are doing to help people out. Isn't that wonderful? When you think about it, the stuff that you are doing, the stuff that you are working with, helps people out. And you guys, the more that you take care of yourselves, the better off you're going to be. For your families and for your friends. And overall, for the country. Thank you so much for your time. If anybody's got any questions, comments, concerns, more than willing to answer it. Yes, sir.
What would you say is like your most rewarding aspect of helping everyone out?
It's simple. The more that I help them out, I was helping myself out. It's a little selfish, I admit. But when I was helping other people, I understand pain. I know when someone is, okay, this is something that hurts, or this is something that I'm scared of. And I can say, listen, I understand. You're almost at that point. But right now, let's get through your fear to the pain point. And that was the best aspect, because how many people put blockades in their own mind? And that's usually the problem with a lot of people, is you blockade your own mind. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
What has been your most memorable?
In 2015, they did a video about the work that I was doing for veterans in California. And they did a video that actually made it onto Netflix for a while. And it's still on YouTube. I will, whoever, Pearson, I will send that to you guys if you ever want to watch it. But the opportunity to encourage a bigger audience was just phenomenal. I felt good about that. And it's crazy. To this day, I still get recognized on occasion. My daughter thinks that, does everybody know you? But I still get recognized on occasion. And it's a fun thing, because if I know I've positively impacted your life, that's a good thing. Then I've done my job.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
With politics kind of splitting Americans up and people picking sides,
Yes, sir.
I think that has affected people enlisting in the Army, Marines, and everything.
Okay. So you have to understand that when you join the military, it's a little bit different than in the civilian world. I swore an oath of allegiance my first day, that I will follow the orders of the person above me all the way up to the commander-in-chief. And if I don't, then we are talking about mutiny. And there are consequences, and there would be more consequences to me than it would be to a civilian. And I think the idea that for politics, you might not want to have this part on film, but I will still say it. Is there any worse scum in the earth than politicians? I'm sorry. For politics. If I could agree, you and I could be, you're right wing, I'm left wing, in our beliefs that how to work this country. But I know that you are a good person. I know that you take care of your family. I know that you are a good father. I know that you are involved in your community. And you know that I'm doing the same thing. Politics. So you don't believe in XYZ, and I believe in ZQR. But we're still Americans. We still have a community that we have to live in. So, whenever people try to divide, they have an agenda, in my mind. And I'm not an expert. I am just a lowly NCO. Anything else? I appreciate all y'all. Thank you so much for letting me share my story. And I want to thank you. If you have ever donated to Wounded Warrior Project, to Team Semper Fi, Folds of Honor, any of these other organizations that are really good, I want to tell you one thing. You saved my life. Thank you. You saved the lives of many other veterans. So thank you. You allowed me to come into a good spot in my life that I can actually bring my boy in. So thank you. I appreciate you. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.